morning. Hope that you'll get a bulletin if they're out on the table in the foyer. Any announcements that need to be made this morning? There is a golf tournament coming up. We played in last year, did very well, had a lot of fun. I will have a sign-up sheet for that, but see me if you intend on playing. I think the cost and all of that is in there. It's in Mount Vernon. I think a different course this year. I think.
There's no challenge here?
I don't know the answer to that. I have no clue. I just know I forgot to bring the gift. It's sitting by my front door, so I wouldn't forget, and I forgot.
I believe it's, I don't know, I think you'll come in and drop off the gift and get a cupcake and leave. So you think they're gonna do that at 2 o'clock and not? Donna's called me Friday night, is that when you were? And said that she thought that's what we were gonna do now.
Oh, I thought that.
But you were doing fruit, right?
Well, I did, because
Okay.
Well,
She was saying she didn't want it to go to waste.
do it this morning, you know what I mean? And that's
Oh,
why I wondered why you didn't do any kind of phone announcement, so maybe.
yeah, she said that they were gonna be a phone
2 o'clock.
announcement.
Oh, well, there may or may not be a baby shower today.
There is one of some sort, but I don't know the details. Because I was told not to bring the punch.
Okay.
Well, after the baby gets here, we will have
A traditional.
we'll
Okay.
have that.
All right, so that's to be decided. Final say, but be turning to Exodus chapter 20 and verse 7. People get my name wrong all the time. My nickname is Roddy. Don't know if you knew that or not. That's not my real name. That's my nickname. But I often get called Ronnie because people can't hear. So when I say Roddy, and that's not very common, they often think Ronnie. I'm also Bubba. You didn't know that probably either. Growing up in Alabama, I'm a Bubba. To my whole family, I'm Bubba. I'm Uncle Bubba. Yeah, well, I got the tall part, and I'm working on the other part. Sometimes I'm called Rodney. That's my real name, Rodney, but that was my dad, so to distinguish, I became Roddy. I like to joke that I have 3 first names. That means and some people call me Donald, by the way, because that's my first name. So when I go to the doctor or, something official, it's Donald. People say my name and 3 guys come running. I tell people, don't worry if you get my name wrong. It happens all the time. I had a college professor who knew my family very well, but he could not keep from calling me Tate. I guess because Tate, Roddy Tate, and he knew the Tate part. So I was Tate to him. The whole, he taught Bible classes, so the whole time, all 4 years, I was Tate. Tate raped, in fact. He never could get it straight. But it's not a big deal to me. When someone says your name, the hope is that good things come to mind, right? That's why it hurts so much when somebody drags your name through the mud or attributes to you things you never said. I'm reminded of Proverbs 22 and verse 1. A good name is more desirable than great riches. To be esteemed is better than gold. And this is also true. 1 Samuel 25:25. Don't pay any attention to that good-for-nothing Nabal. His name means fool, and it really fits him. Well, some names are so well known They have become synonymous with a product. For example, you don't usually say, hand me a tissue. You say, hand me a Kleenex, whether it's Kleenex brand or not. Band-Aids. You have any Band-Aids? Well, we go to the cupboard and it's probably not. You didn't spend the money for the extra Band-Aid brand. You got the store brand, or maybe that's just me. But they're synonymous. Companies know the importance of their name, and they even trademark their name so that no one can use it wrongly. What we call God is important. It's a big deal. To him, his name represents his nature. He has spent literally an eternity building his name. It's important to him. We could, in essence, say God's name is copyrighted. It's not, really, but it could be. I mean, because he will punish you if you use his name incorrectly. We've already studied the second commandment. It prohibits wrong worship of God. The third commandment prohibits what? Do not take his name in vain. Thou shalt not take his name in vain, is how we learned it. But if the second one is prohibiting wrong worship, the third one is prohibiting wrong words about him. Now, I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand, but answer in your mind, how many of us take his name in vain? We're encouraging everybody to take a bookmark. Probably you already have one. They're there on the table. I want you to work on memorizing the 10 Commandments. How many have done it so far? Have you got it memorized? If anybody is ready to recite them, go ahead and stand up and do it. I didn't think we'd have any takers. By the end of this series, I'm hoping we would be able to get them from memory. That may be a lofty goal, but that's my goal. Number 1 is one God. Number 2, no idols. Number 3, revere his name. Number 4, remember to rest. Number 5, honor your parents. Number 6, do not murder. Number 7, do not commit adultery. Number 8, do not steal. Number 9, do not lie. Number 10, do not covet. And I really enjoy hearing the story. Some of you are really utilizing the 10 Commandments as part of discipleship. This week, one of our families told me they put the bookmark on their refrigerator, and they're trying to memorize the 10 Commandments. I applaud them for that, but not only to memorize them, they're trying to discuss them as a family. And they said when we're faced with a moment where correction is needed, we get the bookmark and figure out where it fits in the 10 Commandments and talk about it. I think that's great. I'm hoping it will encourage each of us to take these commands that were written in stone and imprint them on our hearts and in our homes. So that family's trying to learn the 10 Commandments. They want to learn them. So they even told me they have the bookmarks in their car, a few of them, and they're handing them out to friends and family and leaving them a few places. I think that's awesome. I can make more if we need to. I've got them saved on my computer. We can just print out some more. The approach today is simple. We're going to start with the interpretation of the command, and then we'll move to some application. We're going to look at what the command actually means. I think we all misunderstand what it actually means. And then we'll conclude with what it means to us today in today's world. So let's walk through Exodus chapter 20 and verse 7, phrase by phrase, and let's learn how to revere his name. The contemporary English version puts it very well. Do not misuse my name. I think that's a far better translation than Do not take the Lord's name in vain, because that doesn't mean much to us. We think it's just cursing. It isn't just cursing. It's misusing his name in any way. If you use his name that is in any way random or ordinary, it fits. It's misusing his name. So he says, well, I'm going to come to that one in just a moment. Do not misuse my name. You shall not take my name in vain. Thou shalt not take my name in vain. Depending on your translation, it's like the first two commands. It begins with a very strong negative that means absolutely do not ever do what follows. Okay? That's how it begins. Never do this. Ever. There is no excuse. There is no exception. It's actually terms from a courtroom. Do not lift, do not carry, do not bear, do not raise, do not even bring it up, is the idea. Do not bring what up? The name. In the surrounding cultures of Israel, your name meant something. In their culture, names were far more than names. We just pick out names because they're pretty today. We like them. They're popular, or they're part of a family tradition, or whatever. But what did names mean back then? They had meaning. And whether it was something of kind of like the blessing that you laid on their hands, you laid hands on their head of the firstborn, and there seemed to be some almost maybe miraculous weight behind it, that however you blessed that child, it would come true. Or maybe it was just so important to the psyche, the psychology of it, that it came true. I don't know what happened. But their names were also that way. Like we read Nabal's name meant fool just a moment ago. And he lived up to it. I don't know. Because, yes, I think you received your name later. After you have kind of, your personality kind of named yourself, I guess. Well, pardon? Yeah, thing 1 and thing 2. Knowing the name of a God gave you access to that God. It gave you the rights and the privileges that God offered. Well, even more so, knowing the name of the one true covenant-keeping God, he gave his people special access to him. In the Bible, a name was not only identification, it became your identity. It represented your reputation. It stood for your nature, your personality. So God's name represents the totality of who he is and what he does, and he has a lot of names. It's a great study. We'll do that sometime. I think my mom's planning on doing that when she gets here with some of our ladies. But he says, absolutely, do not ever take the name. Whose name? God's name. Don't take the name of the Lord, and how's Lord spelled? All caps. So it's Jehovah, his personal name. Do not take the name of the Lord your God. You look back at verse 2. He said, I am the Lord your God. Verse 5. I am the Lord your God. The first name in verse 7 is Yahweh. Do you remember what it means? What did he tell Moses it meant? I am who I am. I am that I am. The second name is Elohim. which means deity or mighty one. It refers to God as the supreme being, as a faithful God. He invites us to call him by name, but if you're going to call on his name, do it in reverence. Don't misuse it. Find safety and shelter in his name. I don't know if you can see that. That's Proverbs 18 and verse 10. The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run to it, and they are safe. Take a guess. How many names of God are there that he reveals to us in Scripture? Pardon? More than 4. More than 5. Try 300. 300 that he reveals to us as some aspect of his personality. Now, there's a beautiful blessing in Numbers chapter 6, beginning with verse 22. God spoke to Moses, "Tell Aaron and his sons, this is how you are to bless the people of Israel. Say to them, God bless you and keep you. God smile on you and gift you. God look you full in the face and make you prosper. In so doing, they will place my name on the people of Israel. I will confirm it by blessing them." He wants us to represent him. We, in essence, become his name. People are looking at us. So he said, don't ever raise up my name. How? In vain. The traditional translations say in vain. What does vain mean? Pardon? Wrongly. It means empty, insincere, wasted, without substance, worthless. It refers to being empty of content or void of meaning. We take God's name in vain when we use it in a frivolous way, in a casual way. Literally, if I'm using it outside the temple. Okay, in their culture, if it's in the temple, it's holy. If it's out of the temple, it's secular. Not holy. That was the way they understood things. Inside the temple courts, everything is holy. Outside the courts, it's secular. And he's saying basically, anytime you're going to use my name, make sure you're using it in a holy or worshipful way. I think I know what you mean. We don't use it very well, do we? In fact, we probably use it far more in incorrect ways than we use it in correct ways. Yes. And he is thinking, when you use it that way, it's comparable to saying, your name doesn't mean anything to me. It's not special. You know, the scribes, before they would write his name, what would they do? Go cleanse themselves, take a bath, wash their hands, prepare themselves just to write his name. And we stump our toe in it. Yes, because we are the temple. Yes. Literally, the command would be, do not lift up the name of the Lord your God for nothing. Don't say it just for any old purpose. According to Leviticus 22:32, God is deeply offended when we empty his name of meaning. It says, Do not treat my holy name as common and ordinary. I must be treated as holy. Now he goes on in our passage, Exodus 20 and verse 7, to say, I will not hold you guiltless if you take my name in vain. What does guiltless mean? Yeah, the opposite is guilty. You will be guilty. You will be punished. But the word guiltless, he's saying, I will not make you clean. That's powerful. God wants us to know he is very serious about his name. He's not a toy you can just play with casually and put it back on the shelf. It's a warning sign. You know, you see warning sign, danger, high voltage, and you don't touch it, right? That's what God is saying. Danger, punishment ahead. Don't use my name in a common, ordinary way. In Leviticus 24, there is a dispute between two people. And according to verse 11, as they fought, one blasphemed the name and cursed. You remember the story? They bring the person to Moses, explain to Moses what happens. Moses presents it to God. God says stone him. Whoever curses his God shall surely be put to death. That was the outcome. Taking the Lord's name lightly could result, and it did result back then, in severe and swift punishment. The language of this command, though, is in the present, well, in the Septuagint, it would be in the present active tense, which means in the continual sense, which means if you slip up and do it one time, it's not what Exodus 20 and verse 7 is talking about. It's if you continually keep on doing this, where it becomes your habit. Now he says, I'm going to punish you for that. I mean, we've all fallen into this sin at one time or another, most likely. I'm going to, hopefully, by the end of this lesson, I hope that you will see we probably all do this way more often than we think. So, that's the interpretation of the passage. Let's consider now how it affects our lives and our lips. It's common to think this is just talking about cursing or cussing. Well, that's not what it's talking about. It covers that, but it goes much deeper. You know, it's possible for God's name to be taken in vain, even when it isn't uttered verbally. If you live in such a way that God is not seen as holy in your life, you're taking his name in vain.
I think that links to those who live or say they live a righteous life, righteous living, and then do that kind of act is a harm to God's reputation through his name.
Mm-hmm. Exactly right.
That's what he's started to do.
Yes.
And those who are righteous should know better.
That's right. We should know better. Hypocrisy is breaking the third commandment. If I live one way at church and another way at home, isn't that taking his name in vain?
It's representing him.
Yes. Jesus had some harsh words for the hypocrites in Mark 7 and verse 6. Well did Isaiah prophesy of you hypocrites, as it is written, these people honor me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. We can misuse the name of the Lord by not living holy lives, but also by speaking holy words while we're not living holy lives. We preach a moral code that we ourselves don't uphold. Then you're using his name in vain. That's why Jesus was so upset with the Pharisees, the hypocrites, he called them. You maybe have heard the story of a soldier of Alexander the Great. He had deserted his post in battle. Alexander asked for his name. He stutters out in fear, "It's Alexander, my lord." Alexander the Great said, "You've got three choices. Fight, get out of the army, or change your name." If we claim to be a Christian and we're not living like one, I think we are guilty of breaking this third command. Now, there are certainly other places that definitely cover it, but I'm just trying to get you to see, I think it's more than just speaking a word. If you're just playing spiritual charades, when you take the name of Christian, you know what Christian literally means? It means little Christ. It means you're one of his children. Little Christ. So you represent him, a keeper of God's reputation. One of the most chilling verses in this regard is written to religious people. Romans 2 and verse 24. The name of God is blasphemed among the Gentiles because of you. Oh, may that never be said of us. Others blaspheme because of us. Well, let's go back to the idea of God's name being kind of somewhat trademarked, because you'll be punished if you use it incorrectly. We could say he has license to use his name. He grants license to use his name to anyone who will honor him. If you're going to use it correctly, he wants you to use it. If you're not, he's going to punish you. So let's talk about our lips and the words that we say that may be breaking. Okay, there's the story, Leviticus 24. I'm way behind on my slides. I forgot to mark in my notes where to change it. Blasphemy. What is blasphemy? Talking bad about someone? To blaspheme is to speak with contempt about God, or to be defiantly irreverent. So when you hear someone curse using his name, they're blaspheming. They're not just cursing, they're blaspheming. It is verbal or written reproach of God's name, his character, his attributes. What was the punishment in the Old Testament for blasphemy? Death. It was, yeah. Cursing. When we see cursing, don't think cussing, our modern version of cussing. To curse back then, what was it? It was looking at someone and saying, "May a raven pluck out your eyes if you talk about my family like that again." That was cursing. May you be stalked over by 1,000 camels, or something along those lines.
What about like superstitions and saying the baseball gods look down or something along those lines?
I think I have something like that in my notes here, so we will mention that momentarily, I think. But cursing is an expressed form of adversity or misfortune that will befall or attach to one or more persons or a place. And if you're using, "May God do this to you," that would be a form of cursing. What a dreadful thing to take the name of a sacred God, a sacred name that we really probably shouldn't even utter, and use it to curse someone. Recently on a trip, I posted a picture on Facebook. I was pulling a trailer full of furniture back from my mom's house, and the trailer had a flat tire. I did not like that tire. I did not like that trailer. I did not like the situation. Now, I didn't curse the tire, but if I had, that would be what we're talking about. And if I had said, may God, I don't know, I'm not very creative because I don't curse. But may God do this to you, tire, for having a blowout. That would be, in essence, misusing his name. Because it's not my right to bestow judgment on something or someone. I'm not the judge.
I think the phrase a lot in the Old Testament means God deal with me ever so severely, but so is that not considered cursing because you were?
Unless you meant it in a very God hold me accountable way. But if you meant it, if you were just saying it haphazardly, it would be misusing his name, I think.
Didn't they say that a lot?
I think they did, yes. It is there for sure.
Well, that's bad. If you don't live up to the spirituality or the right stuff, then make life reality there.
That's right.
So you're not using your power to curse, it's bad God will be talking about.
It also includes cussing. Using the name of Jesus or God. We hear it all the time. God's name is not an exclamation point for our expressions. Somebody may even say, but I don't mean anything by it. That doesn't matter. You're not excluded from the command. There are no exclusions or exceptions. You shall not use the name of the Lord without meaning something by it. That's what the command literally means. If you're not going to use God's name in a very holy and worshipful way, don't say it.
One of the ways this can be done is assigning to God things that are not His. For an example, in modern times, when Katrina hit, where I was going to, along with saying New Orleans deserved that, God did that to him publicly. And that's assigning him things we don't really know.
You don't know that for sure, do you?
So in Job, in the last part, where God speaks to Eliphaz, says, my anger burns against you and your two friends, for you have not spoken to me what is right, as my servant Job has. And then he goes on down later and says, my servant Job shall pray for you, for I will accept his prayer, not to deal with you according to your fault, for you have not spoken of me what is right. And so that is another way we can do that.
That's right.
Is assign things to God that really aren't.
Yeah, that's misusing his name.
When Jesus said that your conversation you gave a name, I think that falls in the category of
Right. I think it does. Vain repetitions. Now you may agree with me on this. I was trying to just think of ways that we probably are guilty of misusing his name. What about if I'm praying? But one of my ways of dealing with nervousness is to say the word God. And God, do this. And God, but I didn't really mean it in a very holy, worshipful way. Remember what Jesus said, Matthew 6 and verse 7, don't use empty phrases as the Gentiles do when you pray? They think they'll be heard for their many words. I don't know, I'm just trying to think of ways we need to consider ourselves, because we're kind of preaching to the choir here. I don't think we are guilty of going out and cursing his name, with curse words or cursing or some of that. But what are some ways this does apply to us? Well, yeah, that's right. Holding God accountable. When we sing praises, we have to watch what we do with God in his name. When we sing in worship, it's very easy to sing, to just mouth the words. We're told, sing with your heart. Someone once said, it's been well said, Christians don't tell lies, they just sing them in their songs. Because we sing without thinking about what we're singing. I often use it when I'm offering the invitation and I know the song Just As I Am is about to be sung. Don't sing a lie. If you're not ready for the Lord to come back just as you are right now, don't sing, because you're singing a lie. And I think that's true in all of our songs. If I'm not going to pay attention to what I'm singing and the meaning, then don't sing. Because I think that's a form of using his name in a way that isn't very holy. Just because you're singing in church doesn't make it holy.
You're saying songs, but at the same time, the meaning to us may be different what the meaning of the person what the song. So you may be thinking the meaning you didn't understand. And it may be problem. How many times did you do the labor and all of a sudden you analyze the song? Man, I'm just thinking that, I didn't know what I was thinking.
Right. That's exactly right. What about sneeze blessings? Yeah, God bless you. I was studying for my master's degree, so this is a theology class, and one of my classmates sneezed, so I said, God bless you. And he said, no, don't take the Lord's name in vain. It's the first time I'd ever thought of that. Because really, I didn't mean it in a very worshipful way. It was just something to say. It's nice that you say to people. I don't think we don't. See, we probably, I'm guessing you're sitting there thinking, there's nothing wrong with some of these. But my point is, and there may not be, but the point is, if you're not using God's name in the temple, in a worshipful, respectful manner, don't say it.
The intention of the sneeze, I think, is because your heart, every time you sneeze, your heart stops and they continue beating after you're done. So it's a blessing.
It is a blessing. If you mean it that way, then by all means, go right ahead. I was just being nice. I didn't really mean, for me, I was guilty because I didn't use it in a very worshipful, reverent way. Irreverent titles for God. How many times have you called him the big guy in the sky? Or the man upstairs? Or this might be where you mentioned the
fantasy gods, baseball gods.
Yeah.
Treating you well.
Yeah.
Because you did something that's been given to your life.
I had a friend that used to say, God's my homeboy. If you're not using it in a worshipful, holy way, just don't use it. Oh, here's one. Abbreviations. You ever type OMG? Or you see it typed, Facebook or whatever? You know what it stands for? Oh my God. OMG. Are you using it in a worshipful, reverent way? Well, what should I do? How should I act? Let's close. We've got about 5 minutes. When somebody takes God's name in vain, what do I do? You ever struggle? What do I say when I hear someone do it? Here's some suggestions. Number 1, don't be surprised if a sinner sins. It's going to happen. Lost people act like lost people. Sinners act like sinners. It's going to happen. Maybe that includes us. Number 2, weep, then worship. We should be brokenhearted when somebody misuses God's name. We really should. We should be grieved when His name is taken into the gutter. I used to play golf a lot. I haven't played this year at all. But I used to play a lot. And I would just go out to the golf course and join up with some people. And inevitably they are cussing like, it's just the thing to do on the golf course, I guess. And eventually, somewhere on the back 9, you're about 2-3 hours in, and somebody, by the way, what do you do? I'm a preacher. And guess what? It stops cold turkey right then and there. So use that sometimes. Next time you're around somebody, just say, I'm a preacher. Because you're not lying. You are a minister. And you do preach something to somebody. It'll stop right then and there. We should weep. We should be brokenhearted. Use it as a bridge. We're not the profanity police. That's not our job. But Isaiah 26:8 says we are called to spread the honor of His name everywhere. So why not use it as a conversation starting point?
Right? I think that people you spend time with, who know you don't appreciate that.
Yeah.
They should more than that.
Right. Most people are very respectful when they see you coming, if they know you're a Christian and know you don't talk like that. Most people, not everybody.
People always.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Happens to me all the time.
I think that in school has a very good reputation. But I was just calling them women talking about God.
Yeah.
I just couldn't believe that.
Yes.
I must have been raised by children from the time of it, it's my day. Because I didn't have that.
Yeah.
But these are, and what got me was that they were all professors. And they're using slang because they should not be using. Either they kill someone else or they sound big. I felt kind of funny because I'm in the middle of I just found
Yeah.
and told her I had another one that was not playing. That's what I said. I thought I said, yes,
Mm.
yeah. But it's just overwhelming. That it's supposed to be intellectual,
Right.
and so you're sitting there and you're listening to this, and you're like, maybe you have that beautiful piece of paper on your wall in your room, it's 4 or 5 of them, and you're comprehensive.
Mm-hmm. We don't watch our mouth very much. Let me close with this illustration. I was looking at illustrations for this lesson. This is one I found very interesting. During the Welsh revival of 1904, foul-mouthed miners were converted. They became Christians. And they had to sell their mules and buy new ones because the mules wouldn't obey their commands anymore without curse words. Well, our time is up. We have about a minute left. Is there a question or something on there?
Yeah, somebody put on here, we put his name on our money.
We
I
do.
wonder about that.
We put his name on money. And I'm sure we had good intentions. In God we trust. Again, if you are not using his name in a worshipful, reverent manner, just don't use it. Now, I guess I'm torn on that one. I kind of like his name on our money or a license plate or whatever. But you do have to wonder, am I using it in a reverent, worshipful way? And I think I saw the name. That's my nephew. So hi, Nick. I'm glad that you're here. We continue next week with is it the fourth command? What is it?
Yeah.
For those of you that have memorized, or you can cheat and look at the bookmark. Sabbath day, rest. Okay, we'll talk about that one next week. We're going to take about a 15-minute break, and then we'll be back on for those watching online with the worship service in about 15 minutes. Thank you for being here.